In this video, I will cover a brief history of Henri de Toulouse-Lautrec, and I will also give an analysis of a couple of his artworks. Toulouse-Lautrec was an artist from the post-impressionism period in France in the late 1800s. He was a famous printmaker, illustrator, painter, draftsman, and a caricature artist. The artist spent a lot of his time in his short life hanging around prostitutes and drinking lots of alcohol. This was most likely due to the fact that he faced physical trauma at an early age with his physical body deformities. Furthermore, it is believed that he faced health issues due to the fact that his grandmothers were sisters and his parents were cousins. Nonetheless, the time that he spent sitting gave him the opportunity to master illustrating. A lot of the work that Toulouse-Lautrec created was inspired by the people he surrounded himself with, which were prostitutes, female performers, singers, other artists, and his friends. Furthermore, his work features lots of portraits, and his more popular work were the art posters that he did as commissions for concert halls and theaters in Paris. This illustration is a self-portrait of Henri de Toulouse-Lautrec, done in ink, and was created in 1885. The composition is composed of loosely drawn lines that give the impression that this was a quick self-study of himself, done only using shapes and lines. In this work, Toulouse-Lautrec drew himself wearing the derby hat and eyeglasses that he is known to wear in past photographs and his other self-portraits. The drawing shows himself with a long torso and a coat that is barely revealing his legs, which was an insecurity to the artist since he grew up with deformed legs. Furthermore, this style of simplistic, freely drawn, organic lines suggests his position rather than create form. And the shapes he created are made by the negative space in between his line work. This is an example of post-impressionism work because it expresses emotion in the caricature's face rather than expressing realism in the artist's application and technique. This next illustration by Henri de Toulouse-Lautrec is called the Moulin Rouge, La Goulou, done in 1889. It is a color lithograph and was the artist's first poster commission done for the cabaret when it first opened. The layers of this composition has a man with a top hat in the foreground, a female dancer wearing a dress and red polka dot top, and the background is a dark silhouette of the crowd at the concert. The two main figures in this composition are La Goulou, a famous dancer, and Valentine Le Dessous, whom was her dance partner. The silhouette of the crowded audience reveals their French Belle Epoque outfits. The characters in this work are considered caricatures with their exaggerated faces and body features, as well as their body poses. Henri de Toulouse-Lautrec had influence from many artists, but in this work, his inspiration from Japanese woodblock printers is clear, with his bold lines and bright colors, flat figures, and simplistic forms. The Japanese artists that he drew inspiration from are ukiyo-e artists that also illustrated flat and erotic scenes. For example, he drew influences from the artist Takamaru, whom was a master woodblock printer in Japan, who also illustrated elegant Japanese women. And the similarities between these two artworks from different artists like the post-impressionistic Henri de Toulouse-Lautrec and Japanese woodblock printers is the way they both illustrated women and other characters using bold lines flat imagery, and bright colors. It is important to note, Toulouse-Lautrec was one of the first artists to create art poster advertisements, and his work influenced many other artists in the post-impressionism period, as well as other avant-garde artists.